Going back to the, I'm sure I should probably do an episode for the series on how to make a living at this. There's another benefit to starting my streams when I start my streams, which is not the primary reason I do it. So one of the reasons I've always gotten up early, usually at 4 o'clock. That's usually been my start time for 20 years. I get up at 4 o'clock and I just start my day. I recently, about I don't know, 2 weeks ago, started getting up at 3 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock. And I'm starting my streams about an hour earlier. The reason for that, personally, is because we are watching our grandniece Monday through Friday. And I'm trying really hard. I had a pretty traumatic leg injury a year and a half ago, and I had to go through a bunch of physical therapy earlier this year. I've gained a lot of weight. I'm not very healthy right now, and I used to be pretty healthy, running 5 kilometers 3-4 times a week, and I haven't been able to do any of that for a year and a half. And I've been trying really hard. I'm not 100%. I still have days when I have a pain and it's annoying, but whatever. But I'm trying really hard to get back into regular exercise. So I've been going out and running once a week for the past 3 weeks. I just did my third run yesterday, each time increasing by a little bit. But because of the schedule with our grandniece and stuff, if I get up at 3, I can start my stream by 3:30, 3:45, and then I get a good 3 to 4 hour session in before I need to help Chris with everything else, which is around 8 o'clock. So if I stream from 3:30 to 7:30, that's a 3-hour stream. And then I can stop at 7:30. 4:30. God damn it, 4 hours. This is what happens when you self-medicate in the morning. The dyslexia kicks in. If I stream from 3:30 to 7:30, I get a 4-hour stream in. So if I start at 3:30 and finish up around 7, which is when usually that's a good cutoff point for me, I can then go to the river, do a run, or do some exercises here, or go to the park where I can do pull-ups and stuff. And then I'm back by 8 o'clock. I help Chris take the grandniece to school. We come back, we have breakfast together, I take my shower, and then I will do some video production, and then I take a nap. And then I can come back, wake up around noon, go help Chris get my grandniece from school, come back from school. I try to cook lunch half of the days of the week so that Chris has a break. So then like yesterday, I cooked lunch. And then I will then come back and do another stream in the afternoon for another 3 to 4 hours, usually when Chris is outside doing all of her homestead chores, chicken coop, collecting eggs, cleaning all the duck stuff, like all that stuff. So from a personal perspective, I have started getting up earlier than I normally do so that I can help facilitate all of this. But I also go to bed super early. Like last night, we stayed up late. Late for us was we watched a movie last night because it was, our grandniece went home for the weekend, and so we had a night to ourselves. And Chris asked if we could watch a movie, so we watched One Battle After Another, I think is what it's called. It's a new Leonardo DiCaprio movie. Phenomenal movie, by the way. I'll have the review out later today on YouTube. We started. It was like a 2 hour and 40 minute, like a 2.5 hour movie. So we finished. It was like 9:30 at night, which for both of us is way late because we're usually in bed by. I'm usually in bed by 7:30. Chris will often stay up till 8:30 or 9 if the grandniece is needing her to be awake, because she sometimes doesn't like to go to bed early. But from a practical standpoint, there's also another reason why I like to start early, which is because I like to cultivate an international audience. And I have just over 4 years of doing this full time, I have discovered that what works for me is between, if I start at getting up at 4, starting at 4:30, I'm in the North American side of the world. But there's not a lot of people who are streaming that early from the North American side of things. So when I start streaming at that time, I'm up before all of the big streamers, like Carnage as an example, because he starts pretty early and he has a very regular schedule. He'll start, I think it's around 7 a.m. Eastern. which depending on the time of the year for me is like 6 in the morning or something. So if I start at like 4 in the morning, I get a good 2 hours in before he goes live, and I'm getting audience members that would otherwise go watch him, and that's totally fine. I watch him a lot too. Um, but that way I can get a couple of hours in before all the big streamers start going. And then I'm also getting an international audience because I'm getting early morning risers from the US. We have a pretty healthy oceanic audience in our morning streams. I think we have like Thaindar, Ali are both Australian. JK is New Zealand. We have quite a few other Australians in the audience from time to time. And then I get Europeans who are in their afternoon to evening slot. Um, so correct, exactly, Ali. Looking at this slot in particular, I get a pretty rounded international audience, which is very, very good for me because I'm a variety streamer. And I do a lot of different things on the channel. We do movie reviews, TV show reviews, discussions about things, and we do a lot of different games. So by fostering an international audience, I have a diverse community, and as a result, I feel like we have a very healthy and robust gathering of intellectuals who appreciate the good things in life and who aren't here for the wrong reasons. Because I have found, conversely, that when I stream in the evening hours or in the late afternoon, evening hours, I will get a much more North American audience. Not a bad thing, but you are limiting yourself by only having one type of audience. And then also, I have found that depending on the game we're playing, the North American audience can sometimes be, um, without getting political, uh, there's a big difference between the education system in the rest of the world and the U.S. And I feel like we sometimes get a more trolly audience when we're only hyper focused on that U.S. demographic. So I don't, care to cultivate a U.S. demographic. I prefer an international demographic. Before I did this for a living, I was a travel content creator, a travel influencer, travel blogger. I have lived in many countries over the years. I've had a 8-year relationship with a Bulgarian. I've been with Chris for going on 15 years now. Like, Mexican and Latin American. So I definitely have a international vibe, if that makes sense. I mean, I just appreciate culture, and I think that we have developed a pretty good culture because of that. Um, so there's a lot of reasons why I get up and start early, both from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective. But even before watching our grandniece, we've talked about this before. I have been getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning for years, and I talked about that, I think maybe a week ago, when I used to freelance when I was in my 20s. Um, Getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and getting my client work done before 7 or 8 a.m. meant that I could be on the beach, smoking a joint, having a run, going to the bit gym, all by 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And then by 10 o'clock in the day, I'm free for the rest of the day to do all of my stuff. So I would wake up early, get my client work done, go to the beach, go to the gym, and then after that, I would be able to go out and do all of my own personal photography, go visit the restaurants I wanted to go to, and create content for my travel blog. And that's how I built my brand, all those years and years and years and years and years ago. But even before that, I worked construction as a third generation contractor for 20 years. So, and then on a dairy farm before that. So I have always, my whole life, gotten up before the sun comes up. And for better or for worse, even though I do not get along with my old man at all, that is one thing I can say that I at the very least picked up from him, which is no one's going to give you anything in life. And if all you do is sleep in and watch Netflix, and if you're lazy, you're never going to accomplish anything in life. And I'm not a millionaire, but I have been successful enough to pay everything off, do all the things I wanted to do. I don't have a bucket list because I've already done all the things I wanted to do in life before I was in my mid 40s. So now I get to sit here in my mid 40s and do this, which is for me, I mean, I'm not retired, but is this really work? Like, I mean, I do put in full-time hours, but is it really work? Compared to all the other things I've done in life. I made that comment maybe 6 months ago. I did a YouTube short about how, I grew up shoveling cow shit. So for me, playing video games, even the worst video game in the world is better than shoveling cow shit at 6 o'clock in the morning with your dad yelling at you that you're going too slow. Like, I'm sorry. The worst video game in the world will always be better than that. Or being on a job site, at 4:45 in the morning when it's negative 30 degrees outside and you've got a space heater going to warm up your workspace. You've got a bucket heater in your bucket of water so that you don't freeze your hands off when you go to use your sponge to wipe the tile off or grout. I don't miss any of that shit ever. So, why do I get up early? All of those reasons. Should you get up early? I don't really think it matters to get up early. The most important thing is just take the world by the horns. You and only you are responsible for your destiny. Like, there's nothing standing between you and success but you. So, you just have to figure out a schedule that works for you. And go balls out. People's priorities are funny, though. They just don't know. That's true, Thandar. Adara says I look great in your mid-40s. The whiteness in the beard makes me look a lot older. And if I shaved, I would drop probably 15 years, but I don't mind. Like, I really don't care. Chris was laughing at me because I went, I think it was 2 days ago. I went out for a walk, went to the park, did my exercises, came back, and I was all sweaty. And I just literally ran my hands through my hair, went to the supermarket, came back with groceries, and then took my grandniece to school. And she told me I looked like a homeless vagabond because my hair was just all over the place and I was all sweaty and helping take my grandniece to school. And I was like, the best part about being where I'm at in life is I just don't give a fuck. So it's like, I stream every single morning with bedhead, and I was watching this other guy the other day, and he was literally like in the middle of his stream, he was like making sure that his hair was back perfectly with his hoodie up, and I'm just like, dude, just let it flow, bro. Let it flow. But bring your inner Khajiit out. It is Tamriel time, yes. This one sees familiar faces taking swings at Bethesda again, says Thandar. This is insane. Yeah, by the way, this is not the first time I've asked this question. When I was living in Playa del Carmen, I had a business partner who became a friend of mine. I had been hired to teach a workshop, a three weekend workshop on social media, brand building, all that stuff, and at this co-working location in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And so we were down there, and after the class was over, I had several consults, and one of the consults ended up being a guy who he was asking how much would it cost for you to come on and help my girlfriend and I with this project that we've been working on for the past few years. And I looked at it and went, you don't actually have to pay me. Just make me a 30% partner, and I will come work with you guys on that project, because that looks really fun. I want to do that. So they brought me on, made me a 30% business partner, and I spent the next year and a half working with them. We took their Facebook page from 50,000 people up to 150,000 people over the course of a year. We did 3 ebooks and a whole bunch of merchandise and everything else. It's a great project. But he was always boggling because they lived, I don't know, like six houses down from us around the corner. But I've always gotten up at 4. And so I'm up at 4, and my workout routine used to be a little different there, where I would get up at 4 and I would do fasted cardio. So I'd be outside at 4:30, and I would be running my 5 kilometers around the block, and he would be barely, sometimes not even really awake yet. Like, there goes Tim. And he and his girlfriend both asked me, how the hell do you get up and have the energy to do things before like 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning? And it was like, I go to bed early, I get up early, you go to bed late, you get up late. It doesn't really matter. It's just discipline. And I may be disciplined about that, but I'm not disciplined about other things. Like, I can't stop eating potato chips to save my life. And I literally have a burned inside of my cheek from yesterday because I love French fries, and I made a bunch of French fries yesterday, and I was just like, they were way too hot, and I horked them down, and was like, I totally like burned the inside of my cheek yesterday. That's not discipline. So I have discipline in some areas of my life, but not others. Anyway, that's a good episode to go into the how to make a living. Why do I get up early? Also, another side effect is like Chris is still in bed. It's her day off. She'll probably sleep till 7. So by getting up early, I've always had 3 to 4 hours of me time. And that's usually when I get shit done. So 2025 was the first year I didn't write a book. First year I haven't written anything professionally. And it was glorious. I just worked on this instead. But I have always enjoyed the morning writing slots. So I like to imbibe a little bit, if you know what I mean. And wake, bake, work has always been my philosophy. I like to get up early, have a little bit of motivation, drink my coffee, and then I'm immediately at the keyboard working on something creative. Personal time is very important, yes. From a professional standpoint and creatively. Like, it's nice to have your own headspace, doing our thing. Because, I mean, we live together, and we are together 24/7. Like, she is here all day. That's her life is her homestead. That's what she asked for in life, and I worked hard to get her that. And she is happier than a pig in shit doing that. Tired sometimes, but yeah, like, we don't have kids, and so watching our grandniece is a great joy for her. We've been very public about that. We had an ectopic pregnancy. God, it's been 10 years ago now, and we can't have kids. After that, they had to take out one of her fallopian tubes. She had a pretty traumatic surgery. We documented all of that. That was all when we were still doing travel blogging. And so we can't have kids. So it's, for us to be able to have our grandniece, it's a great time for that. So she has her personal space. I have my personal space. I'm here in the office. You guys see Chris. I mean, she's on stream every single day. But it is very important to have your personal space when you live together and work together. Because we've worked together on multiple projects over the years. We did the last game dev project she worked on with my brother and I. And then we worked in the travel space together before that. We managed an Airbnb before that. And we had the tour agency. She was a public speaker alongside me. It is very important when you work together and live together with your significant other that you have personal space. And that's another great thing about getting up early, is just I get my space, and then she has her space, and then we just meet up a couple times a day to do things together. It works pretty good. We've been doing it for, like I said, about 15 years now. And we have I would like to think we have a pretty good routine. But she is not an early riser. And she's not a nice person until she's had coffee. So, Chris is definitely before we had the homestead, she was, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the morning. But stays up until 2 o'clock in the morning. Whereas I am if the sun is down, I need to go to bed. But then I'm up with the ass crack of dawn. And I got a good rambly episode out of that, which is always awesome. Thanks for the question.